Electric vehicles are already a less uncommon sight on the road. Could they soon be allowed to drive faster than petrol or diesel vehicles? It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. You'll hear it said that despite advances in vehicles, human beings haven't developed faster reflexes or better attention since the first days of the motorway, so the upper limit should remain the same. A classic argument meant to counter the assertion that vehicles are markedly more safe these days, capable of driving safely at much faster speeds, stopping more quickly, and remaining stable in much more challenging situations. So what's changed that makes electric vehicles more suitable for driving at high speeds? As far as we know officially, there aren't any plans right at this second to give electric cars and electric vans a speed limit over the above maximum speed petrol and diesel vehicles are permitted to travel at. But the idea is already out there, and elsewhere in the world, it's already being done. So maybe it's just a matter of time before the UK follows suit. Following are some thoughts that show why higher speed limits for electric vehicles might well arrive sooner than you'd think. Why might electric vehicles be allowed to drive faster? The government has committed to, and enshrined into law, the target of outlawing the sale of petrol or diesel vehicles by 2030. That's less than 8 years away. Electric cars and vans uptake are brisk, but while they're exceptionally cheap to run, they're not at all cheap to buy at the moment. So every lever that makes driving electric cars less painful is likely to be grabbed and pulled for all it's worth to get people into electric vehicles. Quick question. If you were suddenly allowed to drive 10 miles per hour faster on the motorway with impunity, wouldn't that encourage you to pay the few extra quid for the car that gets you into the exclusive Go Faster Club? The above, if enacted just to encourage electric vehicle uptake, might just be seen as a crude and arbitrary idea, punishing those priced out of going electric, while simultaneously rewarding those rich enough to afford EVs. This is on top of the already generous tax breaks enjoyed by electric car drivers, various grants, exemption from emissions and congestion charging, almost non-existent company car tax, negligible running costs, and more. However, the idea is an environmentally sound one too, which makes the idea far easier to justify. Typically, petrol and electric vehicles have a sweet spot where they're at their most efficient, broadly around 55 miles per hour. Above that speed, CO2 levels, noise pollution, and other harmful emissions increase dramatically. If you traveled into Manchester via the M602 recently, you might have noticed that this motorway has the speed limit permanently reduced to 60 miles per hour, with reducing emissions cited as the reason for doing so. If you had an EV driving while seeing this, you might think electric vehicles don't produce any emissions at any speed, so why should I be required to slow down? Don't forget that Manchester is expected to be one of the next cities to introduce some kind of emissions charge in the guise of the proposed Manchester Clean Air Zone. So driving non-electric could be about to get more expensive in any case. So will EVs be allowed to travel at the same speed they can now while everyone else gets to slow down? And until things start being debated more formally, we can only speculate. Motorway roadworks, with their frustrating 50 miles per hour speed limit, are only 5 miles per hour slower than the aforementioned sweet spot for fossil fuel efficiency. As tempting as it might be for the government of the day to reduce the national speed limit for the conventionally powered vehicles to 55 or 60 miles per hour, it's unlikely that they'd want the massive outcry this would cause leveled at them, at least until EV use has grown to a majority. So quite a while away yet. Having explained that, there is a legal obligation for air pollution to be kept below certain levels, and many urban areas fall below the required standard. As ever, motorists may find themselves an easy target, so even public outcry might not be enough to prevent the political expediency of plucking the low-hanging fruit in the face of the very real issue of tackling pollution and climate change. With the above being the case, there's also an argument for the national speed limit to be increased, but for EVs only. Bear in mind, the 70 miles per hour maximum national speed limit was introduced in the 1950s. If you drive in France, the maximum speed limit is 130 kilometers per hour, roughly 80 miles per hour, and we all know about German autobahns. So the idea of an increased speed limit in general is a debate that's been rumbling for decades. Electric cars aren't humble cars. They're generally higher-end vehicles, and as such have a lot of higher-end features. By the time EVs have become more mainstream, these technological triumphs, like all other high-tech features before them, will also be mainstream. Will electric vehicles impact road safety? Some people may take some persuading. Jim O'Sullivan, the chief executive of Highways England, said that there had previously been resistance, as 70 miles per hour was socially embedded in the UK. This is despite cars being much safer and faster than when the limit was introduced in the 1950s. Electric vehicles are no more dangerous than petrol-fueled vehicles. Increasing the speed limit, however, has raised some safety concerns, as higher speeds could leave drivers with less time to react and potentially increase road accidents. Different markets offer different electric vehicle incentives. At this point, we have seen a wide variety of them, but probably none as unique as the new one from Austria. The government announced a series of new initiatives, including allowing for a higher speed limit for electric cars during pollution warnings. Recently, the Austrian government announced 3 new EV incentives. It is opening bus lanes to electric vehicles. It will start promoting free parking for electric cars, and the last newest initiative is one that caught our attention, increasing the speed limit for EVs on motorways and expressways. They are creating a legal exception to increase the speed limit to 130 kilometers per hour, or 80 miles per hour, on about 444 kilometers of highway from the 100 kilometer per hour limit during the IGL air pollution warning. Austria is offering would-be electric car owners and current ones a tempting incentive to go tailpipe emissions-free, permission to drive faster than those with gasoline, diesel, or hybrid vehicles in certain conditions. Under a recently approved amendment to the country's speed limits aimed at rewarding those who choose electric vehicles, they will be given a legal exemption. During emission-restricted times tied to high pollution levels, owners of EVs will be allowed to go 81 miles per hour, or 130 kilometers per hour, versus 62 miles per hour, or 100 kilometers per hour, in a particular speed region that includes 273 miles of roadways. Electric vehicles currently comprise 2.5% of new vehicle registrations in Austria. That's more than Germany, according to Austria's Federal Ministry of Transport. The Jaguar I-Pace, the first long-range electric vehicle from an established luxury brand, is built in Graz, Austria. Although the idea would likely result in more shoppers leaping over fully electric vehicles, it is not without some concerns and trade-offs. Electric vehicles currently comprise 2.5% of new vehicle registrations in Austria. That's more than Germany, according to Austria's Federal Ministry of Transport. The Jaguar I-Pace, the first long-range electric vehicle from an established luxury brand, is built in Graz, Austria. Allowed to drive faster than they otherwise would be restricted to, the electric vehicles themselves won't be as efficient and will, as a result, contribute to more upstream emissions. Higher speeds and wider speed differentials generally correspond to higher highway fatality rates as well. In 1996, an EPA memo cited data finding that just increasing urban interstates from 55 to 65 would produce a net increase in vehicle emissions of 20.7% more carbon monoxide and 1.3% more nitrogen oxides. Anecdotally, the efficiency and range of most of the electric vehicles Green Car reports has been significantly lower at 80 miles per hour than at 60 miles per hour. So electric car drivers who take advantage of the higher speed limits won't be able to do so for a long time. Allowing electric vehicles to drive faster on the highway might also put more pressure on DCC's fast charging network infrastructure because they'll need to charge more often. The new policy, which so far lacks an enforcement strategy, also includes cities and municipalities to provide free parking for electric vehicles. The move is in accord with the EU's 2030 climate targets and the Paris Climate Agreement, which also aims to cut Austria's transport sector carbon dioxide emissions by 7.9 million US tons. What do you think about the increase in speed limits for EVs? Let me know by leaving a comment in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.